لداغ فورد بحاجة اكشن غريب قالوا لنا عليه هيحصل دلوقتي. داغ فورد هينزل من الباص دلوقتي وهيعمل حاجة مع الكراكن ده، مع الماشين الكبيرة دي. تابعوا معايا حضراتكم، هنشوف ايه اللي هيحصل لحظة بلحظة. اهو داغ فورد بريمير في أونتاريو نازل، ناس بتحييه. حاضر في هذا الموضوع. تعريف دلوقتي ماسك يافطة عليها التعريفة الجمركية الأمريكية، وهو طبعا دلوقتي هيحط التعريفة الأمريكية. اوكي، ده 1 فبراير النهاردة، بس هيعمل ايه؟ حدث عجيب. well done premier. التعريفة الأمريكية هيدمرها كبداية للحملة الانتخابية لداغ فورد.
All right, we're good.
Good.
All right, let's start moving back slowly. Behind. We're still staying here.
حاضر. دلوقتي احنا هنرجع على المؤتمر الصحفي بتاعنا، وهنبتدي نصور الوقائع بتاعتنا لحظة بلحظة. ما انتم شايفين ميديا كتيرة، وداغ فورد حاضر النهاردة. عدد من الناس المعروفين لينا، المايور باتريك براون مايور اوف برامبتون، والنائب شريف سبعاوي النائب البرلماني الأونتاريو في إيرين ميلز. الحقيقة شخصيات كتيرة برضو حضرة سياسية لبداية أو لانطلاق حملة داغ فورد الانتخابية. حالا هيبتدي المؤتمر الصحفي، وخليني أقول لكم شوية إحصائيات كده عقبال ما داغ فورد يبتدي يتكلم للصحافة. داغ فورد طبعا كان مفروض تكون الانتخابات يوم في شهر 6 سنة 26. هو عملها بدري سنة ونص علشان من وجهة نظره ان ده هيكون مناسب عشان يقدر يحارب التعريفة الجمركية الأمريكية. وزي ما انتم شايفين ابتدى الحملة بتاعته بانه كسر التعريفة الجمركية، وهي زي ما تكون رسالة لدونالد ترامب ان دي حاجة هم مش عايزينها. احنا مستنيين انه يبتدي الحملة بتاعته، وهو داخل دلوقتي على البوديوم لو زي ما انتم حضراتكم شايفين. Patrick Brown, Mayor of Brampton.
Well, welcome to the great city of Brampton. Pleased to be here with our Premier. And just to say, I know it's a cold day in Canada and in Brampton with these impending tariffs, but we have the right man who's led our province, who's protecting our economy, protecting jobs in communities like Brampton. And we're going to hear, first of all, from the president of Unifor 1285, a person who has been such a strong voice for auto jobs in our city where there are thousands. So it's my pleasure to introduce Vito Beato, president of Unifor 1285.
Good morning. Good morning, everybody. My name is Vito Beato, president of Unifor Local 1285. Happy to be here. And when you look at our auto industry and what Doug Ford has done to support us, I can tell you, from day one, he supported our members in the auto industry. Right from the electric vehicle auto industry, right to the investment to the Stellantis Brampton assembly plant and the Windsor assembly plant. he is protecting jobs right across the province and good paying jobs. And also, right directly to our 1285 members, when you talk about support and investment to our Action Center, he's done that. Him and his government have done that for our 1285 members. And today, with the announcement of the tariffs coming in, he's protecting our auto industry. And that's what we need. That President Trump south of the border is highlighting tariffs, highlighting the auto industry, and we're not going to take it, and we need to fight against it. So, right on. So he's protecting our auto industry and protecting our jobs, our members, and our workers and families across the province. Thank you very much, and I guess I'll pass it back to Mayor Brown. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Vito, and Vito knows the importance of these jobs in our community. It's my pleasure to introduce Premier Ford, and just to say it is an honor to support his re-election. He has been incredible for the city of Brampton. If you asked people 7 years ago if we would have support and funding for the second hospital, a new med school, they would have said you're dreaming, but we do. The med school is opening in September. The groundbreaking for the hospital is March 28th, and I have to say, Premier, it's been a game changer for healthcare because of your support. But it's not limited to investments in healthcare. I look at the support he has given Brampton. As Vito said, you know, those Stellantis jobs would have been gone if it wasn't for the Premier's direct intervention. The Magna plants producing electric battery containers, thousands of new jobs for our community. You look at the support for MDA Space, incredible rocket science jobs because of the support of the provincial government. I've seen the Premier work, and he is unrelenting. You call him any hour of the day and he's working for Ontario. So for me, this is an easy choice. I want to see a Premier that will stand up for our city, stand up for Ontario, protect jobs in light of this significant threat from south of the border. We have the right man leading our province, and I hope to see him back at Queen's Park for another 4 years. It is my honor to introduce a great Premier, Premier Doug Ford.
Well, first of all, thank you very much, and thank you to the President of M Metal for hosting us this morning. Thank you, Patrick, for your very kind words, and Mayor Brown is an absolute champion. You know, the Mayor just mentioned a whole bunch of things that wouldn't happen without his collaboration and his support. He's an incredible partner, an incredible leader. And thank you, Vito, for joining us today and offering your support. Thank you for your leadership, and all the other leaders here from Unifor. I'm very, very grateful, and I can't tell you how honored I am to receive your endorsement. The first ever endorsement from Unifor for our PC party. Vito, the hard-working members of Unifor Local 1285 are incredibly lucky to have you as a leader, and I am so fortunate to have you as a partner. You have my word. I will always have your back. I will always have your members' backs. I also want to welcome our PC team. Hardeep Grewal from Brampton East, Charmaine Williams, Brampton Center, Pramit Sarkaria, Brampton South, Amarjot Sandhu, Brampton West, Grant McGregor, Brampton North, Sharif Sabawe, Mississauga, Aaron Mills, Nina Tangri, Mississauga, Streetsville, and our new member that will be coming down to Queen's Park, Sylvia Gualtieri, Mississauga East Cooksville. Well, I wish I had better news to share, but Donald Trump couldn't have been more clear. He's moving forward with his reckless tariffs. He's chosen to tear up decades of goodwill that has made life better for workers on both sides of the border, for businesses on both sides of the border, for families on both sides of the border. He thinks he can break Canada. He thinks he can buy Canada. He doesn't know what we know. The Canadian spirit can never be broken. And friends, Canada is not for sale. Canada is a strong country, stronger than Donald Trump thinks. stronger than he will ever know. And a strong Canada will always depend on a strong Ontario. Today, I have a message to every Ontario family, to every Ontario worker, and every Ontario business anxious about the future. I have a message for the hundreds of thousands of people worried about whether they'll have a job next month or if they'll be able to pay their rent or mortgage, pay for their groceries, or pay their bills. I know you're anxious. I know you may be scared. But you are not alone. As long as I'm Premier, I will stop at nothing to protect Ontario and keep you safe. As the federal government proceeds with retaliatory measures, I want them to know they can count on my full support. I believe we should hit back hard, and hit back strong.
Yes.
President Trump wants to divide us. He wants to pit region against region. We can't let him, and we won't let him. Now we need to unite. Everyone in every region is going to have to share this burden. If Canada is going to win this fight, we need to respond together. We need to understand our points of maximum leverage, and we need to maximize the impact of our actions. Critical minerals, including high-grade nickel and many others. And I just want to be clear, I'm talking as the Premier of Ontario. I'm not talking as the Chair of the Federation. We have to make sure the high-grade nickel and many other critical minerals. He needs to feel the pain. Energy and electricity and aluminum, uranium and potash. We have an enormous amount of powerful tools in our toolkit. Tools America's economy and military depend on. Tools we may need to use in the coming weeks. As we are always in our toughest moments, Canada is in this together. United we stand, divided we fall. I choose united. To President Trump, I can only say this. This is not a smart move. It's selfish. It not only hurts Canadians, it hurts your own people. It hurts you and your administration. It makes America poor. It makes Americans poor. Canada has been an ally with the U.S. before, and we will be an ally once again. But now, our job, my priority, is to protect Canada, protect Ontario. There's no sugarcoating this. The coming weeks and months will be some of the toughest we've ever faced. The impact of these tariffs will be felt almost immediately. Companies' orders are going to slow down. Factories will have to reduce shifts. Workers may lose their jobs. Across Ontario, hundreds of thousands of jobs are on the line. And not just in factories, service workers, construction workers, retail workers, everyday hardworking people in offices, factories, farms across Ontario. I know this is hard to hear. I know you're anxious and worried, but you have my word. I will do whatever it takes to protect Ontario, protect our workers, to protect our businesses, protect our families, and protect our communities. Billions to help workers retain, billions to rebuild roads to create jobs, billions to retool companies to find new customers, and billions to reshore supply chains and bring good jobs back home. I'm prepared to do whatever is necessary, whatever it takes, today, tomorrow, next year, for the next 4 years. Friends, the coming days will be hard. They will test us. But here's what I know in my core. We will ride this out. We will emerge from this challenge stronger than ever. Today, we need to stand together. We need to stand united. We need to protect Ontario. We need to protect Canada. Thank you, and may God bless the people of Ontario.
We will now take questions from the media. Media present can line up behind me and ask their question through the microphone. As a friendly reminder, the format is one question, one follow-up. Please state your name and your outlet before your question. First question.
Good morning, Premier. This is Nitin Chopra from Prime Asia TV.
How are you, my friend?
Thank you. All good. Thank you, Premier.
Thank you.
Premier, what President Trump is doing, that is best for America, whatever they, because in initial weeks they have saved approximately $1 trillion. And they are announcing of saving the money for Americans. Here in Canada, we are talking about spending and spending. Federal said we need to spend like a pandemic spending. You yourself said that you need to pump in billions of dollars into the economy. From where this money will come? Are we planning to tax more on the Canadians, or we want to print more money? Because of wasteful spending by our governments, nobody talked about that, as Canada gave $20 billion plus to Ukraine, and then we one asylum seeker cost taxpayers $82,000 per year. So from where this money will come? Thank you.
Well, thank you so much. We have never ever raised a tax. We will never raise a tax over the last 7 years. We believe in reducing taxes, putting money back into the pockets of the people, reinvesting into companies to make them more competitive. And make no mistake about it, Americans will feel it. They'll feel the inflation, and Canadians will feel the inflation, but they're going to be hurt. Mark my words.
Premier, being in the power for last years, what work you think is not done, is incomplete? Since Mayor Brown is also here, we want to hear, in case you win the next elections, you become the Premier, landlord-tenant board issue is still pending. Public safety issue is a concern to Canadians, because federal always says, yesterday Mayor Brown was there in the press conference, they always say it's the province, is the hire more tough judges. Retail thefts are going on every day. Yesterday's Scarborough incidents is shocking. What will you think that which works were incompleted in your previous term and you will do on top priority, including public safety and landlord-tenant board and many others?
Well, first of all, we're moving forward the landlord-tenant board as we come back and put legislation together for both. We have some of the toughest regulations to protect tenants, and we're going to have tough regulations that protect landlords as well. But, you know, when you're mentioning about safety, there's no government that's poured more money into our police. We absolutely love our police, no matter if it's, and I'm going to pass this over to Graham McGregor in one minute here, but we're really focusing on giving them the support. We've increased the amount of police officers at our college up to 2,000, never been done every single year. We're buying helicopters to support our Peel Region Police, and we're focusing on bail reform. We led the country on bail reform. But do you know what stops all this? When you have mandatory sentences, when someone goes into your house, kicks in your door, or breaks in a jewelry store, puts guns to people's heads, and guess what happens? Now, I always say we have some good judges, good system, but there's other areas that we have terrible judges, terrible justices of the peace that let them out, not once, not 4 times, 5 times, 6 times, 7 times, and lets them back on the street. They're out there in the backseat of a police cruiser saying, I'll be out by the time you start your shift. So when someone breaks in the house, it should be mandatory 10 years, automatically. And we have to look at the youth criminal code too. You know, you have people 17 years old committing heinous crimes and getting a slap on the wrist just to go out and commit crimes once again. So between bail reform of the federal government, toughening up the criminal code, putting in mandatory sentences so the message gets out on the street to all these gangs and these criminals that when you get caught, you're going to jail for 10 years. They'll change your mind real quick. I'll pass it over to Graham McGregor.
You know, let's be clear about one thing. There's no government in the history of Ontario more committed to public safety than Premier Ford's government. We've got helicopters coming for police services in Peel and Toronto and York and Ottawa and other jurisdictions. More boots on the ground coming online than ever before. We've hired more judges, a new courthouse expansion just down the street on here, Ontario. But we have weak laws, weak bail laws, which are interpreted even worse by weak-kneed judges to let criminals out 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times in a row. The pendulum has swung so far for the rights of criminals and suspected criminals, nowhere near where it needs to be for victims and for taxpayers. So let's be clear, while we need to protect Ontario families from violent crime, today's announcement is about standing up for Ontario jobs against Donald Trump's tariffs. Hundreds of thousands of jobs that are on the line. You talk about landlord-tenant boards, think about what that would do to the property values, to lose those kind of jobs, a devastating impact on our economy. We need to stand united with all provinces. We've been united on bail reform. Every province is calling for bail reform. Every province needs to stand up for Canadian jobs as well. This is a premier that will do that for us here in Ontario. Thank you.
And since you asked for my perspective as well, just to say, one of the reasons that I'm supporting the Premier is because of his unequivocal support for frontline policing. And this is a challenge. I hear about public safety from our residents, but you ask any police officer who they're supporting. I hear it. I was just talking to Adrian Woolley, the head of our police association in Peel, and it's a no-brainer. Every time we've had a request to support policing and help with public safety, it's without hesitation the Premier and this government has stepped up. I'll give you an example. We needed to have an extra cohort trained at the police college this year because we had fallen behind on numbers per capita. And by the way, that happened, unfortunately, when Bonnie Crombie was mayor, when she wouldn't support policing. But thanks to the Premier, we're getting an extra cohort trained this year. We're going to be bringing a record number of police officers into field this year, 300, the largest expansion of police officers in our history. And that doesn't happen. It doesn't happen unless you got a provincial government that supports policing like this one.
Hi, Mr. Ford. Good morning. Mike Crowley from CBC News. The Ontario Liberals are out with some advertising that says that your government, your government actually can't respond to tariffs over the next 4 weeks because you're in election campaign mode. Is that accurate? And will you actually bring in measures quickly within the 4 weeks while you're in an election campaign?
Well, that's totally inaccurate. I was cleared by the Integrity Commissioner to continue on being the chair. I was endorsed by every single premier in the country. I'll be going down to Washington on the 11th and 12th. I'll be going back to Washington on the 20th. But we will do whatever it takes to protect the people. We'll do whatever it takes to protect the economy and the communities and the jobs. And we will not spare a penny. We want to make sure that we're there to protect everyone's backs here in Ontario and fight these tariffs. Make sure that we match dollar for dollar, tariff for tariff.
Right on.
Just to follow up, can you be a little bit specific about what you can bring in as a province, as a provincial government, during the next 4 weeks while you're in an election campaign? Will you get the LCBO to take American booze off the shelves? Will you stop hydro exports to the U.S.? Will you bring in any sort of programs? What will you do in the next 4 weeks to respond to the tariffs?
Well, Mike, I don't want to speculate until President Trump comes out and shows the tariffs that he's going to apply. But I can tell you this, we're going to match tariff for tariff, dollar for dollar, and we'll do whatever it takes to protect the people, protect the jobs, and protect the community. Right on.
Hi, good morning. Sinead Dougal with the Trillium. You've said that you've been talking with Congress people, with governors constantly. Those efforts haven't prevented the tariffs from coming. The Liberals this morning came out and said that you have failed to protect Ontario. What's your response to that, and is your strategy going to change when you head down to Washington later this month?
Well, it's a united approach right across Canada. It's not me by myself as Premier of Ontario. It's all 12 other premiers. It's the federal government. We're all working together. It's critical we stay united. That's what we need to do, and we need to fight these tariffs with every tool we have in our toolbox.
And with tariffs hitting and you promising to spend billions, to support the economy. How far down the road are you willing to push your plan to balance the budget by 2026, 27?
Well, let's see what tariffs hit us today. But this isn't a one-day battle. It's not a one-week battle. It's not a one-month battle. It's a 4-year battle against President Trump, and we have to outlive his administration for the next 4 years.
Yeah.
Rami Botros, Oxygen Media. Thank you very much, Premier, for your solid position and strong word that facing this tariff threat on Ontario and Canada. Actually, there is many options. Maybe we can face this tariff, but do you consider another alternative than the United States to begin to export Ontario's production to other countries?
Yes, great question, by the way. Our goal is to make sure that we send products all over the world. We aren't so dependent on the United States. And that goes for our energy as well. You know, for years, we should have been building pipelines out to the West Coast, out to the East Coast. Right now, at our largest refinery, the Irving refinery out in New Brunswick, we're bringing in oil from Kuwait and Saudi Arabia. That doesn't make sense. We have enough oil to ship it out there and be self-sustaining rather than being landlocked. And this has been neglected from the federal government and multiple federal governments, by the way. We should have been building that pipeline a long time ago. We wouldn't be facing this challenge if that was the case.
Thank you. And there is another question about the timing of calling for elections for Ontario. It is very sensitive time for Canada, especially that this year will be a federal elections. So some people say that the timing of elections in Ontario is not the good because this will affect the solid situation for Canada to have a good selection for the leadership for next October or maybe before if there is an early election. So they said that it is not the good timing for Ontario to call elections. What do you say about that?
Well, I'm going to respectfully disagree with whoever says that. We need a strong mandate for the next 4 years to outlast and outlive the Trump administration. Anyone who thinks this is going to be one day and it's over, or 2 months and it's over, it's not going to happen. We need a strong mandate. And when you have a strong mandate to protect the people and protect the jobs and communities, it sends a message. It sends a message to President Trump that we have a strong mandate, and it gives us more leverage, gives us more strength to negotiate. So we're going to keep working hard. I'm going to the people. They're going to have a very simple choice. Who do they believe that's going to protect them, protect their jobs, protect their families? Who do they believe is going to have strong leadership? And the people will decide in about 27 days.
Good morning, Premier Ford, Canadian Press. Can you implement the economic action plan during the campaign, or do you have to wait until the election or after the election?
Well, we're going to work with the federal government. I had a conversation with Minister LeBlanc last night, a long conversation about retaliatory tariffs and other areas that we need to protect Ontarians, protect Canadians right across this country. And we're going to work collectively and collaboratively with all the premiers, because everyone has a say in this, and along with the federal government.
Following up on this, do you think Ontario is weak or more vulnerable in February since we don't have a government until after the election?
Not at all. Not whatsoever. We have a strong voice. I'm still the Premier of Ontario. I'm still going to be the chair of the Federation. I'm going to be going down to the U.S. Do you know what this is going to do? It's going to give us more strength, more certainty. Because right now, the only thing certain with President Trump is uncertainty. And when you have a 4-year strong mandate, that gives us a lot more strength when we're negotiating. Hang on.
This will be the last question.
Good morning, Premier. This is Imran from Y Media Group.
My question is about Liberal. Liberal are saying that it's a wrong time to call election by Ford.
Well, that's up to the Liberals. I'll tell you, my job is to protect Ontario. And this is the best path to take, having a strong mandate, the strongest mandate from the Ontario people. Again, the people, we live in a democracy. In 27 days, they're going to have a choice. Who do they feel that can lead them through this? Who do they feel that they're going to be protected their jobs, protect their families, protect the rent they may pay, the food they put on the table, the mortgage they have to pay? And they're going to have that choice. But I think that choice is pretty clear. You have Team PC along with our great union teams right across the province, or in the people and the businesses and the CEOs of companies, or the other two. I think that answers itself right there.
My second question about tariff. US imposing 25% raise on tariff, and Canada is also talking about raising tariff against US. But the burden will go on the common citizen. Is there any plan by the government to cope with the upcoming situation?
Yes, we're going to make sure that we have funding not only for our Ontario residents from the government of Ontario, but also the federal government too. You know, these tariffs that we apply need to go right back into businesses, back into people's pockets. That's what we're going to do, make sure they're taken care of and they're protected. Our number one thing is to protect Ontarians. And that's exactly what we're going to do.
That concludes our press conference. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
شريف 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 هنا شريف هنا. ومعانا دلوقتي النائب البرلماني شريف سبعاوي. اهلا شريف، معانا هنا في برامتون.
اهلا بيك يا رامي، اهلا باكسجين.
شريف النهارده بيعلن داك فورد عن بدء حملته الانتخابيه بتكسير التعريفه الامريكيه، بترد على ايه وتعليقك ايه على الموضوع ده؟
Well, إذا ترامب رئيس ترامب أصر إن هو يحط التعريفة، إحنا already كجوفرمنت عاملين الميجرز اللي هنقدر نكومبات بيها التعريفة ديت. We're very clear about that. إحنا هنفايت stand together as all the provinces agree on combating this tariffs.
النهارده الساعة 3 هتعلن عن بدء حملتك الانتخابية في ميسيساغا ايرين ميلز. ايه النقط اللي عايز تقولها لدايرة ايرين ميلز علشان للمرة الثالثة على التوالي وبنجاح انك انت يعني يختاروك كريالكت كنائب ليهم في البرلمان اونتاريو؟
مفيش، انا طبعا بتكلم على الفترة اللي فاتت اللي احنا كنا فيها في government، ايه الحاجات اللي عملناها، ايه الانجازات اللي احنا عملناها، وازاي هنقدر نكمل في نفس الاتجاه علشان نقدر نكمل البروجكتس اللي احنا ابتديناها، ازاي هنغير اتجاهنا عشان نكمبات التعريفات الجديدة ديت، وفي نفس الوقت نقدر نكمل building الانفراستراكشر.
كل التوفيق النائب شريف سبعاوي نائب ميسيساغا ايرين ميلز، وان شاء الله يكون ليك النجاح
باذن الله.
شكرا 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 حبيبي.
Thank you so much. Yeah, you're done.
Thank you.